Hey there, A's Day fans. Welcome to our Monday edition of our show. I'm your host, Joe Grado. I want to thank each and every one of you for stopping by to kick off your week to hear our thoughts on everything athletics baseball. Today is Monday, August 10th. We've got a happy pod for you. It's been a long time coming, but we're going to recap the latest A's action from over the weekend as they concluded their two-city, six-game road trip by taking 2 out of 3 from perhaps the hottest team in baseball in the Boston Red Sox. After dropping Friday night's game, the A's rebounded to take Saturday and Sunday's games against the Red Sox to secure their first series victory in quite some time. We'll discuss how it all went down and hand out our usual 3 A's star performers. From there, we are going to talk a little bit of news that actually hit the airwaves right after we uploaded our Friday show, as David Forst is out as general manager of the Athletics after 27 seasons with the organization. We'll discuss the move and give our thoughts onto why it happened now and what it may mean for their future. And also an occurrence from this past series concluded yesterday. Jacob Wilson has an impressive streak going, setting a record in the process, 111 games straight without an error. We'll discuss what record he indeed did set. And at the back half of our show today, we'll be sure to preview the A's next opponent, as the A's are back home for a week-long homestand. The first opponent up, they welcome in another member of the American League East. This time, it's the division leaders over there in the Tampa Bay Rays for a 3-game set. We'll be sure to preview all the matchups, game times, give our predictions before getting ready to enjoy more A's action. Take a deep breath, A's fans. Off the schneid, at least for the brief present. Hopefully, we can all have a happy podcast and enjoy the good baseball that was played this past weekend in Beantown. Let's get to it. Holy Toledo. Let's go A's. All right there, A's Day fans. Thank you once again for tuning in to our Monday show, or whenever you're listening to this edition of A's Day. We always appreciate your support. All right, with that, let's get right to it. Let's start with the Red Sox series recap. Indeed, let's get right to a weekend at Fenway. Things, unfortunately, have really gone south for the green and gold. But maybe, just maybe, a trip up to Boston, of all places, could do the trick to start getting the ball rolling here in the second half. This past Friday night, the A's kicked off a 3-game set against Boston, which would conclude the week-long road trip. Game 1 featured Jack Perkins going for the A's, going up against Red Sox left-hander Peyton Tolle. After a scoreless first, the Sox offense would get rolling against Perkins in the bottom of the second. Jarren Duran kicked off the scoring, smashing a 2-run home run to left center on top of the Green Monster to give Boston a 2-0 lead. 2 batters later, Jake Rogers would deliver an RBI double. And then 3 batters later, with 2 outs, Willie Abreu would lace a double, bringing home 2 more, capping the 5-run inning. After 2, it's 5-0 Red Sox. Perkins would get through 1 more, but would be pulled after a short outing. 3 innings pitched from Perkins, 5 hits allowed, 5 runs, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. To the 4th we go. On now is Hayden Yinger, and the Red Sox offense would get churning again. After the Sox got 2 on, nobody out, Jake Rogers would come home to score from there, following a pickoff attempt thrown away to increase the lead to 6-0. Later, Willie Abreu delivered an RBI single. Masataka Yoshida would bring him home to score via an RBI double, and then Yoshida would come around to score on Andrew Monasterio's RBI single to cap a 4-run 4th. After 4 innings, it's 9-0 Boston. In the 5th, one man made sure there would be no shutout against the green and gold. Tyler Soderstrom would hammer a solo home run to right center, his 18th on the year, as it's now a 9-1 game. That would be the lone blemish against Red Sox starter Peyton Tolle, who put on a pitching clinic and a performance for the ages. Tolle in this one, he went 6 innings, allowed 2 hits, 1 run, no walks, 14 strikeouts. The Red Sox would add on 2 more in the 6th and 2 more in the 7th to get us to our final score. Ball game over. Red Sox taped Game 1, 13-1 this past Friday night. So rough start from Perkins, unfortunately. Only lasted 3 innings, 70 pitches, and it was a grind from the start. He labored throughout. Didn't seem to have it, and Boston was making them work from the jump. 9 of 17 with first pitch strikes, wasn't really able to establish any sort of tempo or have any control of this game. The Red Sox offense seemed really unstoppable in that second and fourth inning, where it didn't seem like the A's had the answer to stop the bleeding. They had that type of pass to the baton type offense, putting consistent, constant pressure on the A's until the levee broke. And that's why we saw in this one, the game ended, it was 9-0 after 4 innings. Totally, he was a tough nut to crack. Perhaps his best start as an MLB starter. He went 14 strikeouts against no walks. The offense actually collectively completely shut. 2 for 29. They got nothing against the bullpen after Toley either. No walks, 16 strikeouts. That's just not going to get it done. The lone run is Soderstrom's home run to avoid the shutout, but this game was over really before it started. I mean, it really kind of felt like the wind was out of the sails after that second inning, but then that fourth inning really put this one away for good. Certainly, tough way to start the weekend following the news of their general manager being let go, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But nevertheless, you got to remain showing up in that professional manner and putting your best foot forward with each game is a new opportunity. Tall task going on the road to conquer the hottest team in baseball. Let's see how Saturday's middle game of the series would pan out, as the A's would send rookie left-hander Gage Jump going up against Red Sox rookie left-hander Jake Bennett. The Red Sox, they would get the scoring started again, this time right away in the first, as Andrew Monasterio would lace a 2-run single to give Boston an early 2-0 lead. The A's would finally answer back against Bennett in the fourth, as Brian Servant would leg out an infield single, bringing home Jacob Wilson to cut the deficit in half. It's now a 2-1 game. In the fifth, the A's would take the lead thanks to a 2-run single to left, as it's now a 3-2 green and gold lead. In the sixth, after Bennett was lifted for the bullpen with 1 out in the inning, Donovan Walton would hammer a 2-run ground rule double, as the A's lead would grow to 5-2. Jump did a great job keeping Boston's lineup in check, as the 2 runs in the first is all they would get through 6 solid innings of work against the rookie left-hander. Jump in this one went 6 innings, allowed 6 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, and he set a career-high 11 strikeouts. In the seventh, the A's lead would grow a little more. Tyler Soderstrom hammered a solo home run to right, homering on back-to-back nights, his 19th on the year, as it's now a 6-2 A's lead. To the ninth we go. How about one more power check from the A's? Henry Bolte drives a blast to dead center field, a solo home run, his 5th of the year, to increase the lead to 7-2. The Red Sox would get one more in the bottom of the ninth, but they wouldn't get any closer, as Hogan Harris would get Eli White to line out to center field to end this one. For the A's, it went Jump to Medina to Johnson to Harris. Ball game over. A's win 7-3 and knot this series up at 1 apiece. So what a great job from Gage Jump. He had a really big learning moment unfold in this start, because what we saw in that first inning was Jump being perhaps a little bit too predictable with his sequencing, a little bit of a predictable pattern that it seemed like the Red Sox offense was keyed in on. But then after that, that's all they got. They got the 2 runs in the first off of him, and then 5 scoreless from Jump after that. Sets a career high. Congrats to Jump. 11 strikeouts against baseball's hottest team. There is a lot to like with what Jump has put on tape through his first go-around in Major League Baseball, and especially pitching in a hitter-friendly environment. Again, a Sox team coming off a 13-1 performance the night before, to limit them to 2 runs over 6 innings and then set a career high in strikeouts. Impressive stuff, without a doubt, from the rookie left-hander. Really set the tone in this one, and it didn't matter that it just felt like that the game was in his control and he was going to be the stopgap that this team needed, and he delivered. Better production from the offense. They went 8 for 35 in this one. 4 walks, 7 strikeouts. 5 of those 8 hits were extra base hits. So a lot more productive with what they were putting forward as well. It's a huge step up from the 2 hits and no walks from the night before. But in this one, they get the 2 homers, 1 from Sodi and 1 from Bolte. Then they get 3 doubles as well, 2 from Jacob Wilson and 1 from Jonah Heim, which was the go-ahead double at the time. And they went 4 for 10 runners in scoring position. That's what I'm talking about. Cashing in on those opportunities, 4 for 10, that's an acceptable rate, and it really supplied some foundation for this team to be able to build a lead and then hold on to it till that 27th out was recording. Sodi, he keeps on churning in a lineup of inconsistencies in terms of guys either not producing or guys being in and out of the lineup between differing injured list stints. But for the month of August so far, Sodi, he's hitting .310, 2 homers, 3 doubles, a triple, and a 1.084 OPS. So he is someone that is looking to end the second half on a positive note. Hopefully the rest of the offense starts picking it up around them. But great bounce back, especially after such a deflating loss where it seemed like the game was over after 4 innings the night before. To come back, find a way to get a victory, and now you set yourself with an opportunity to, well, first, you snapped your 9-game losing streak. Now you have an opportunity to snap a much crazier streak, in my opinion, a 12-series losing streak. The next day you have an opportunity, because with this victory, they tied it up 1 game apiece. Now you go into Sunday's day game at Fenway with an opportunity. Hey, if a couple of balls bounce your way, you could head out, end your road trip on a positive note, and get some good feelings back in that clubhouse. Let's see how it all unfold. As Game 3 yesterday was JT Ginn getting the ball for the A's going up against, well, the bulk reliever was Brian Bayo, but they opened with the left-handed reliever Eric Miller. This time, the A's would get on the board first. In the first, Tyler Soderstrom would ground out to first, but in the process, Henry Bolte would come home to score, and they would have an early 1-0 lead. In the bottom of the second, the Red Sox would knot things up thanks to an RBI single to right from Eli White. It's now a 1-1 game. In the fourth, following a leadoff triple from Tyler Soderstrom, Tommy White would ground out to short, bringing home Sodi from third and reclaiming the lead. It's now 2-1 A's. In the fifth, Boston would rally against Ginn. Eric Sogard would ground out to a fielder's choice to Ginn. White would come home to score on the throwing error for Ginn to tie the game 2-2. 2 batters later, Willie Abreu would move Boston ahead thanks to a sacrifice fly, as it's now a 3-2 Red Sox lead after 5. From there, Ginn would get through 1 more inning and conclude his night, putting up another quality start. Ginn went 6 innings in this one, 3 hits allowed, 3 runs, only 1 earned, 2 walks, 2 Ks. To the 8th we go. Battle of the bullpens at this point. Jonah Heim would come through again with an RBI double, bringing home Jeff McNeil, as it's now a tie game. Once again, it's 3-3. To the 9th we go. On now is Sox closer Aroldis Chapman, trying to keep this thing tied to give his team an opportunity to walk it off in the bottom of the 9th. At first, it seemed it would be 1-2-3 for the A's, but then the 2-out rally was on. Alika Williams singled to right. Following a stolen base from pinch runner Donovan Walton, Max Muncy would hammer a double off the monster in left center field. Coming around to score is Walton as the A's reclaim the lead. It's 4-3. To the bottom of the 9th we go. On now is Hogan Harris to preserve the lead and series victory. The Sox did manage to have 2 on and 2 out. However, Harris would get Ceddanne Rafaela to line out to left field to end this one. For the A's, it went Ginn to Basso to Alvarado to Harris, who picked up his 11th save of the season. Ball game over. A's take the rubber match of this 3-game set 4-3 and win the series over the Red Sox in Fenway by taking 2 out of 3. Exhale, A's fans. The series losing streak is over. They had lost 12 series in a row, and it just felt like there was no end in sight. Especially coming off a couple sweeps, it didn't really seem like this team was heading in the right direction at this point. But due to the mix of a tall amount of injuries and some ineffectiveness mixed in there as well, this season has been a nightmare since June for this A's club. But with the group that they have here, to find the resiliency after losing Game 1, to come storming back and win 2 games against the baseball's hottest team on the road in their park, speaks wonders to the fortitude that remains in that clubhouse. These are the moments that you want to see when things look bleakest. Who stands tall? Who stays together as a unit and puts their best effort forward day in and day out to win as many games as you can at this point? We're not talking about postseason anymore. We're not talking about division, anything like that. The goal now should be to go out there and win as many series as you can. Win every single day. That should be the objective. Don't look at the grand scheme of things. Don't look at what's to come over these final 2 months. Don't look at what's to come next year. Take it day by day. And that's what the A's did a great job of, I thought, this weekend. Despite getting blasted on Friday night, they come back Saturday and Sunday with 2 impressive pitching performances, including in this one. JT Ginn, 6 innings, his 11th quality start of the year. 16 of 27 first pitch strikes, lowers his season ERA to 3.41. He continues to be the model of dependency, consistency, and typically gives the A's a chance to win every 5th day. So hats off to him. Congrats. He didn't factor into this decision, but I thought Ginn really battled in this one and gave his team, once again, an opportunity to come from behind and beat the Red Sox, which they ultimately did. The offense in this one, 9 for 31, 1 walk against 11 strikeouts, 2 for 11 runners in score position, so not as fruitful with their opportunities, but again, the team did enough collectively to get the job done to win this game and to secure the series victory. So like we said, snaps the 12-game series losing streak. You got to win the small battles at this point and get some good baseball rolling. They improved to 47-71 on the year. It just has to feel good in that clubhouse to just win one. To not hear it every single day or week, however it's being brought up. Another series loss, another series loss, another sweep, another guy on the injured list. Keep stacking. And from the time being able to spend around this team the last couple of seasons, this is a good group of guys. There have been some interchangeable parts. There have been a lot of young guys getting new opportunities, but the collective has remained the same. These guys play for one another, and they want to win as one unit together. And there were a lot more expectations put on this team this year than last year. But I know everything that could go wrong has been magnified over these last 4 to 5 weeks. But to see the resiliency from this team from this weekend against baseball's hottest team, that it could have been easy for this team, especially on the stretch at one point, losing 32 of 38 games, whatever the mark was, that there could be a lot of finger pointing, there could be a lot of hostility. But at the end of the day, it just seems like this team has done a good job, at least their best, collectively, to have that next man up mentality. Now, it hasn't been nearly good enough, but what you hear in terms of the temperature of the clubhouse, yes, it's great, vast disappointment, and wishing that they were one healthy whole as a team to really see how good this team truly can be. But at the end of the day, the moxie, the character of a team, I think a large portion is judged at its lowest moments. And the fact that this team still shows up night in and night out to fight. Now, I know there have been some ugly scores mixed in over these few weeks, but I'm talking about from the grand perspective, like talking about that 4-game series against the Red Sox in West Sacramento. I'm talking about losing all 3 of those games in Cincinnati by 1 run each. I'm talking about them fighting back and beating the Red Sox 2 out of 3 this weekend. Yes, it's been ugly. It has not looked good for 5 weeks. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it in any way. And anyone in that clubhouse will say the same thing, probably even worse. But I just want to commend these guys that could have easily packed it in, could have easily just have a half effort. If they lucked their way into some wins, so be it. But you can see these guys are not giving up their at-bats. They're taking care of the baseball for the majority. And they're getting some pretty good pitching performances, at least from their starters, over this tough stretch. Not consistently, but, starts from Ginn, who's recently back from the IL, and some good starts from Jump. And Jacob Lopez has looked a lot like last year since his recall from AAA. So there have been some encouraging moments, but a lot of frustration built in there. So I just want to take this moment to commend this team from not fully packing it in, still trying to win night in and night out. Let's see how many of these you can stack. So you can, at least when these next 2 months conclude, that you can look back and have at least this portion of the season to be proud of, learn from, and figure out a way to get this thing back on the track of the positive upward progression that we had been seeing over the last 3 seasons. Now it seems like record-wise, this team has stepped back significantly, but you got to factor in all the moving parts, including the vast large number of injuries to key crucial members of this team, that if the majority of teams in this league weathered this amount of injuries, I do think their success rate would be at a similar level. So at this point, win the small battles, build that positive momentum for 2027, and hope that your health is better intact for next season, and we get a better version and a better vision to see where this team is at the year before they head to Las Vegas. All right. Next challenge is the first place team in the American League East as the Green and Gold return home to West Sacramento for a week-long homestand. But first, let's hand out some awards. Let's discuss 3 A's Day star performers from the weekend series victory in Boston. So, for our 3 stars, our third star is going to go to right-handed pitcher JT Ginn. He got the no decision, but was the starting pitcher in yesterday's victory where the A's eventually won. He again pitched 6 innings, allowed 3 hits, 3 runs, 1 earned, 2 walks, 2 Ks. Felt like he really set the tone and gave his team an opportunity to win this game and secure the series victory. Our second star is going to go to left fielder Tyler Soderstrom. He went 3 for 11 in the series, 2 home runs, 3 RBIs, 3 runs scored, 1 triples, and he had a hit in every game, and each of his hits were, I felt, impactful and were of the extra base hit variety. And then our first star is going to go to left-handed pitcher Gage Jump. Got the win in his Saturday start. Went 6 innings, 6 hits allowed, 2 runs, 2 walks, 11 strikeouts, which set a career high. Happy podcast indeed as we wrap our 3 stars and recapping this series. Again, the A's win this series, taking 2 out of 3. They snap their 12-series losing streak, and hopefully they can stack a bunch of these series victories before the season is said and done. But before we get to our next series preview, we got a couple of news tidbits to touch upon. So first, we are going to touch upon some news from Friday as it was announced the A's fired General Manager David Forst. The club announced it as a mutual parting of ways, but the timing of it makes me think otherwise. Assistant General Manager Dan Feinstein has been named interim General Manager, and the club says they will begin searching for a new GM. Forst had been with the A's for years and years. He was hired as a scout in 2000 and became Assistant General Manager in 2004, working under General Manager Billy Beane. Beane got the GM job in 1997. Both Beane and Forst were promoted in 2015, with Beane getting the title Executive Vice President of Baseball Operations. Forst became the GM, but still working under Beane. The Beane-Forst front office had lots of success, at least intermittently, as they would occasionally rebuild. The A's had a winning record from 2000 to 2006, with 4 postseason appearances in there. They were 500 or worse from 2007 to 2011, but then had 3 straight postseason appearances from 2012 to 2014. They were in the basement of the West from 2015 to 2017, and then made the playoffs 3 more times from 2018 to 2020. They just missed the playoffs in 2021, and then kicked off another rebuild, trading away Matt Olson, Matt Chapman, Chris Bassett, Sean Manaea, and others. In November of 2022, Beane transitioned into more of an advisory role, sticking with the club but leaving Forst in charge of the front office. A lot has changed for the franchise since then. The city's tenure in Oakland has come to an end as the franchise is planning to move to Las Vegas. They are temporarily playing in West Sacramento, sharing Sutter Health Park with the Sacramento River Cats, the AAA affiliate of the Giants. A new stadium in Vegas is being built, with the plan of it being ready for opening day 2028. Broadly speaking, the club's plan has been to put together an exciting young core so that the club can be competitive by the time they get to Vegas. The results on that front have been mixed. The development on the position player side of things have been generally encouraging. Brent Rooker, Lawrence Butler, Jacob Wilson, and Tyler Soderstrom have all signed long-term extensions with the club. Others like Nick Kurtz and Shea Langeliers have established themselves as key pieces of the roster, though without long-term deals. There has been less success on the pitching side of things. It doesn't help that the club's temporary home is particularly more friendly for hitters, but there is far less certainty in that area of the roster going forward. The team has a collective 5.44 earned run average this year, better than just the Colorado Rockies. Despite some encouraging developments with regards to the lineup, the on-field results aren't there. The club has been below 500 in the past 4 completed seasons and are trending towards a 5th. They are 47 and 71 this year. Only the Angels have a worse mark. As the club is pivoting to this new era, it hasn't been clear if the A's and Forst were committed to staying together. It was reported last September that Forst's contract was about to expire. He and the club worked out something to keep him around for this season without the details really being clear. In March earlier this year, it was relayed that Forst and his family were comfortable in California, implying that he might not be keen on making the move to Vegas. There were reports that today that Forst never planned to move to Vegas. On the other hand, in another column, that this move today was indeed a firing and not a mutual parting of ways. More information and reasoning, I'm sure, may be forthcoming. One way or another, it's a notable pivot point for the franchise. To move to Vegas has been in the works, but now the front office is going to be run by someone other than the Beane-Forst duo for the first time in nearly 30 years. For now, that person will be Feinstein, but it seems that might be temporary. Perhaps the A's could decide to keep Feinstein around for longer, though the franchise announced they will be starting a comprehensive search for a new GM. Whether it's Feinstein or someone else, the new front office leader will have challenges. In the short term, developing pitchers will be tough given the aforementioned conditions. Attracting free agents to help the club is also an issue, as most players would prefer not to play their home games in a minor league park, which has lesser facilities than other stadiums. Signing free agent pitchers is extra challenging since they would prefer to not play in a bandbox. The club also doesn't generally spend a lot on player payroll. They have dialed that up a bit in recent years, seemingly to avoid a grievance that could jeopardize their revenue-sharing status, but they've still been towards the lower end. Perhaps all these things will improve in 2028. The new stadium could be less hitter-friendly. Ownership could crank up spending in 2028 to capitalize on the new market. Perhaps the new collective bargaining agreement will favor smaller clubs with greater revenue sharing and or a cap floor system. Time will tell on all of those things, but there's currently a lot of uncertainty for an organization that is currently adrift in a few different ways. So this was a shock. Didn't really see this one coming. Now, I guess if you look back to their discussion last fall, that with the uncertainty on if Forst and his family wanted to make the move to Vegas in 2028, perhaps this was something that was underway for quite some time, and they wanted to pull the trigger at the right moment. But to me, this seems like a firing as compared to a mutual parting of ways. I'm sure it was agreed upon by both parties for it to be announced in that fashion, but for it to be announced in the midst of at the time it was an 8-game losing streak. They had lost, I think, 32 of their last 38 games. And coming into this year with the year of expectations where you keep trending in the positive direction, adding wins from the year before, you're hoping this is going to be a year at the minimum that you'd be at least in the discussion for a wild card spot. And with how this season presented, no one still to this point of the Rangers, Astros, and Mariners have run away with the American League West. This has been a very winnable division this year. In fact, one that's been dominated by mainly the Texas team and now of late Seattle, that the door was really open for the A's, who, as of the middle of June, were a half game out of first place and spent some time in first place in the division themselves. So the fact that it's really fallen off the bus, and it's really tough to, at the end of the day, to gauge the performances of David Forst and of Mark Kotsay when you've had double-digit guys on the injured list and having some guys on there multiple times. And it's been key pieces. So when the identity of this team is your offense, especially playing in the bandbox that is Sutter Health Park, when you're losing guys like Brent Rooker for the season and Shea Langoliers for the season, Nick Kurtz has been on the injured list twice now. Jacob Wilson's been on the injured list twice. Tyler Soderstrom earlier this season was on the injured list. These are all the pillars of your present and future offensive success. Excuse me, Zach Geloff also was on the injured list multiple times. Max Muncy. The list keeps growing. For the majority of teams around the league, if you had that amount of movement in and out of your lineup on and off the injured list, no team would be able to thrive that way. I don't care who you are. Maybe if you're a bigger market with more resources like a Dodgers or a Yankees, you can hover around 500 at best. But if you had that number of significant injury time to significant pieces on your team, what team is really going to be able to thrive in that kind of environment? A lot of young guys with not a ton of experience getting a chance. Some have delivered, some haven't. Can't really blame them. So now you're going to take this time. This was the moment after the core group, especially on the offensive side of the things. I know they've got their work cut out for them to develop starting pitching and more bullpen. But I think David Forst has done a great job getting a lot of these core pieces locked up for now and for the future, so that when this team is in more of a competitive position to be a division winner, go on a postseason run, whatever the case may be. David Forst laid the foundation in an organization where there was even more instability and chaos. At least Forst was a calming presence, especially over these last final years, showing us a glimpse of the next era of A's potential championship baseball. Now, obviously, it's all done on paper. But even if it's not a championship, maybe an A's team that gets back to the postseason with regularity. A team that is not frowned upon as one of the laughing stocks across baseball. A place where players, free agencies want to go to. And I think the players have done a good job in the clubhouse creating that close culture and that will and desire to want to win. But they've got a lot of work for them cut out, especially on the pitching side of things. But in terms of from the optics of what ownership and non-on-field activities are displaying to the league, it's tough. It's not what you want. So to pin the failures of this season on David Forst, he's being groomed and displayed as a scapegoat. Even though, especially what we've seen over the last couple of years, you can see he's taking the steps to build the next competitive A's team. I thought he did a great job with those extensions. Now we'll see how it all plays out. But at the time of each of those extensions, I really felt like it made sense. Now, maybe one exception, maybe wanted to see a little bit more of a track record from Lawrence Butler. But from what he had shown leading up to that extension being agreed upon, there was a lot of promise there. Brent Rooker, 30 home run seasons year in and year out. Unfortunate this year due to injury, but he'll be back next year. The unofficial captain of this group, heart and soul, playing 162 games often. How about the development of some of these guys? I know it works, creaks its way down to the player development, and I understand that. But what about the guys like Shea Langoliers, acquiring him from Atlanta and him turning into one of the best catchers in baseball? What about Nick Kurtz, one of the best first basemen in baseball? So you lauded him then? David Forst, he had an eye for baseball talent then, but all of a sudden he can't do the job anymore? It's unheard of. For a team that continues to find ways to get bad press out there, after 27 seasons with the organization, the timing of it, brutal. Why now? If you wanted to part ways with him, why wait until after the season? Let him finish it out. The optics look much better around it. And then that narrative of him and his family being comfortable in California, not wanting to move in Las Vegas, would make a lot more sense. You could have written that out, because then you want to give a new general manager a clean sweep, a new season. Give them a season to get their feet wet in their last season in West Sacramento before moving to Vegas, so that by the time that they're in Vegas, he's got his operations how he wants it run, and perhaps their plan of attack to hit a new market up and running. But why the middle of early mid part of August? Why now? I know there have been plenty, I'm sure, shortcomings from Forst and being that group, I'm sure. The 2021 group of them going into that big rebuild is something that a lot of A's fans don't look fondly upon, although some of them brought some good return at the end of the day. But I don't think they were ready to say goodbye to Matt Olson. I don't think they were ready to move on from guys like that. But say what you want, David Forst had a vision and didn't bring home a World Series title. But some of those A's teams went on some pretty decent postseason runs and were postseason regulars for chunks of years. Not the whole time. But the way he's locked up some of these players, in the like a Jacob Wilson, like a Tyler Soderstrom, to have this group of players learn at the big league level together and groom them to be ready to be that next team up, I thought David Forst did a splendid job. I think he had a pretty good eye for talent. I don't think, obviously, with any general manager, not all of the moves made sense or proved successful for the green and gold, but hey, no general manager has a perfect record out there. And for an organization that has a lot of instability, a lot of question marks, a lot of focus is still focused on raising funds for a stadium that continues to be built in Las Vegas, we're going to blame the shortcomings of the organization of putting your team in a tough situation to be in a temporary home where half of the games your pitching staff is going to have no chance. And if you sustain injuries to your offense, forget about it. And that's what we're in the midst of this year. The A's are the product of their environment. If their offense isn't humming, the pitching isn't going to be able to carry this team long term. I don't think that's the general manager's fault. He put the team together. And when they were whole and healthier, this team was in first place for several weeks. Half game out of first place. But once the injury bug hit, the wheels fell off the bus. And I know at the end of the day, you got to find a way to pivot and navigate because injuries hit every team at different points throughout the year. But it seems like this has just been one of those anomalies. So to pin it on David Forst, just want to wish him the best of luck in his future endeavors. I'm sure he's going to find a job very quickly for another team looking for a general manager in another baseball front office type role. I think he still has plenty to offer a major league front office, and I think wherever he ends up, that team will certainly benefit from his vision and his services. All right, let's talk about moving on to a more positive note here, something that came about at the conclusion of yesterday's victory. How about Jacob Wilson's errorless game streak? As obscure as it might be, Athletic shortstop Jacob Wilson broke a Major League Baseball record yesterday afternoon at Fenway. With his 111th consecutive error-free performance during a 4-3 victory over the Red Sox in front of 36,817 fans, the 24-year-old surpassed Mike Bordick's 2002 mark with the Orioles for consecutive games played at shortstop without a miscue. Wilson's last error came more than 13 calendar months ago, back on July 6th of 2025. Wilson, after the game, said, "It's a special day for me, but at the end of the day, we got our first series win in a long time against a great opponent. We've got to keep that ball rolling." The A's won 2 out of 3 in Boston to snap a streak of 12 straight series losses. JT Ginn recorded a quality start with 6 innings pitched and 1 unearned run, but he also allowed 2 unearned runs before exiting. He conceded 5 hits, walked 2, and struck out 2 in a no decision. The A's tied in the 8th and regained the advantage in the 9th on Max Muncy's 2-out double off Errorless Chapman. Hogan Harris pitched a scoreless 9th to secure his 11th save. The A's' previous series win came back on June 12th and 14th against the Rockies in Las Vegas. Their last road series win before this weekend was against the Cubs back on June 2nd to 4th at Wrigley Field. Surveying the clubhouse for thoughts on Wilson's defensive skills resulted in an overarching theme: reliability. Tommy White has perhaps the best perspective on Wilson's fielding prowess, playing both first and third base. Not only does Wilson cover a lot of ground, but he consistently delivers pinpoint throws across the diamond with zip. White said he definitely has the consistency side of things down pat. The stats don't lie. He really takes in the second half of the play. Everyone sees the glove, but it's the accuracy of the arm. Veteran infielder Donovan Walton pointed to Wilson's preparedness day in and day out. He puts in the work necessary to understand what might come. It also doesn't hurt that Wilson's father, Jack, played the position for 12 years in the big leagues. Having a good teacher shows, Walton said, along with crediting his defensive emphasizing father, Wilson also noted daily work with third base coach Bobby Crosby. It's not just Wilson's fellow infielders who value his work. A day after twirling perhaps the best start of his young career, rookie starting pitcher Gage Jump said he feels very confident every time the ball is hit Wilson's way. What Wilson does every day stands out, both for flashiness and just making the right plays. Jump said he makes amazing plays. It's great having defense like that behind you. It kind of takes a little bit of stress off of your back. Ginn echoed similar sentiments. The way he prepares and works, that stuff doesn't come by chance. Wilson's official defensive metrics back up the anecdotes. Wilson's 8 outs above average ranks 9th among MLB shortstops this season, and he's improved after registering negative numbers in the statistic over his first 2 seasons. He ranks tied for 27th among all players in fielding run value and tied for 8th among shortstops. Mike Bordick, who played for the A's from 1990 to 96, went errorless for 544 consecutive chances. Wilson entered Sunday at 323 and had a busy day early on. He nabbed a putout in the first and another in the second on the infield fly roll. He handled a ground out in the third and helped turn a 4-6-3 double play to end the fourth. Wilson fielded another routine ground out in the fifth. Having won back-to-back games for the first time since June 25th to 26th, the A's head back to the West Coast to host a 3-game series against the Tampa Bay Rays. So impressive stuff from Jay Willie. The slick field and shortstop continues to improve and hone in on his craft. It seems like he's going to do something amazing with his glove on a nightly basis. Let's see if it continues with their homestand kicking off later this evening. Before we preview the next opponent up for the A's this week, This episode is brought to you by Visit Mesa. Welcome to Mesa, Arizona, a destination for every season. Experience a destination where adventure, culture, and culinary experiences are limitless. As the gateway to the stunning Sonoran Desert and Tonto National Forest, Mesa invites you to explore its scenic waterways, kayak through winding canyons, or paddleboard along the Salt River. For a one-of-a-kind desert adventure, ride the waves of Revel Surf at Cannon Beach, the country's first surf park of its kind. Downtown Mesa is a vibrant hub home to the Mesa Arts Center, public art, award-winning breweries, and local shops. Food lovers can explore the Fresh Foodie Trail and the diverse flavors of Mesa's Asian District. Sports fans can experience MLB spring training with the Athletics and the Chicago Cubs, or visit one of North America's largest youth sports complexes. As the world's first autism-certified city, Mesa is dedicated to accessibility and inclusivity for all visitors. All right, now we get to the back half of our show with the A's returning home from their 6-game road trip. They may be done with the Red Sox this year, but not battling against the American League East. In fact, their next opponent leads that division as the A's return home to Sutter Health Park to welcome in the Tampa Bay Rays for a 3-game series. The Rays come in with a 71-46 record, which is good for first place in the American League East. They are led by manager Kevin Cash. In their latest series, they swept all 3 games up in Seattle against the Mariners. They won 2-1, 3-2, and 4-1. The Rays enter tonight's action holding a division lead of 5.5 games in the AL East behind standout core performances from Yandy Diaz, Junior Caminero, and Jonathan Aranda, plus a surprisingly resilient pitching staff that aggressively added starter Freddie Peralta at the trade deadline. Their offensive core, powered reliably by third baseman Junior Caminero, veteran DH Yandy Diaz, and first baseman Jonathan Aranda. Their rotation resilience has overcome major injury hits, including to Ryan Pepio and Joe Boyle, to maintain a top 10 playoff caliber pitching unit, bolstered further by an all-star campaign from Drew Rasmussen and the deadline acquisition of Freddie Peralta from the Mets. Brian Baker, as we look at their bullpen, emerged as a shutdown closer, making franchise history, supported a uncharacteristically active front office, churning through roster moves to secure a multi-game division lead over the Yankees. Their trade deadline strategy, they ended up being aggressive buyers without sacrificing top-tier farm system crown jewels. Along with Peralta, they also acquired catcher Liam Hicks from the Marlins, pitcher Tyler Wells from the Orioles, and outfielder Jack Sawinski from the Dodgers. The Rays come into tonight's action with the following statistical rankings. We're going to look on the offensive side of things. As a team, they're hitting .259 for a batting average, which is second in baseball. They've hit 119 home runs, which is 25th. They've scored 519 runs, which is 18th. They've walked 383 batters, which is 20th. They've struck out 838 times, which is the least amount. And they've hit to a 732 OPS, which is 9th. On the mound, they've pitched it to a 3.68 ERA, which is 6th in baseball. They've walked 302 batters, which is second least amount issued. They've struck out 957 batters, which is 21st. And they've pitched to a 1.14 whip, which is the best in baseball. And defensively, they fielded at a 983 fielding percentage, which is tied for 21st, along with their 70 errors, which is tied for the 21st amount in baseball. All right, this is how the Rays starting lineup projects. Obviously, it can change depending on who is starting on any given night. But typically, they're led off in left field by Chandler Simpson. Batting second, the designated hitter, Yandy Diaz. Batting third, the third baseman, Junior Caminero. Batting fourth, the first baseman, Jonathan Aranda. Batting fifth, it's a mixture of Cedric Mullins or Johnny DeLuca in center field, depending on if it's a lefty or righty pitcher. Batting sixth, the right fielder, Victor Mesa Jr. Batting seventh, the second baseman, Richie Palacios. Batting eighth, the shortstop, Taylor Walls. And batting ninth, you'll see either Liam Hicks or Nick Fortes behind the dish catching. Now, so you know when to tune into some A's-Rays action, let's tune in to the game times and starting pitching probables. So game one, like I mentioned, is later on tonight, 6:40 p.m. Pacific time, first pitch. Freddie Peralta will be getting the start for the Rays going up against A's left-hander Jacob Lopez. Tomorrow night, also a 6:40 p.m. Pacific time, first pitch. Nick Martinez getting the ball for the Rays going up against A's right-hander Mason Barnett. And then Wednesday will be the rubber match of this 3-game set. It'll be a day game, 12:05 p.m. Pacific time, first pitch. Drew Rasmussen getting the ball for the Rays going up against A's right-hander Jack Perkins. Let's get to know who these A's hitters will be faring up against in terms of these Rays starting pitchers. So Game 1 starter, who we'll see later tonight, is right-handed pitcher Freddie Peralta. On the year, he's made 23 starts, pitching to a 5-9 record with a 5.39 ERA and 117 in the third innings pitched. He's walked 49 batters, 116 strikeouts, and a 1.52 whip. In his last start at Colorado, he lasted just 3 2/3 innings, allowed 9 hits, 7 runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. Peralta's season highlights a prominent baseline of intact stuff paired with glaring mechanical and performance regressions that led to his trade from the Mets to the Rays back on August 2nd. After a stellar 2025 season that saw him go 17-6 with a 2.70 ERA, Peralta crumbled under the big market spotlight in Queens, logging a 5-9 record with a 4.99 ERA and a 1.48 whip over 22 starts. The diagnostic scouting breakdown reveals what has gone wrong and why the analytically driven Rays believe he can be fixed. So, with Peralta, he dropped his release point, so video tracking and scouts note that Peralta's arm slot has dropped from 38 degrees to 33 degrees since last season. He also is working with decreased extension. His extension has dropped towards the MLB average, losing 3 to 4 inches of extension on every single pitch in his mix. This heavily compromises how hitters perceive his velocity and alters his signature vertical movement. His intact velocity, his raw tools remain stable, with his four-seam fastball still averaging 94.2 miles an hour. Speaking of, let's learn a little bit about his pitching arsenal. His four-seam fastball, which he uses about 50% of the time, he's no longer purely fastball Freddy, but his heater remains his primary weapon. Because of the lower release point, it is failing to rise effectively up in the zone, leading to more hard-hit balls. His secondary mix includes a slider changeup curve. His stuff plus metric has dipped to a career low 96, down from 99, primarily because his lower arm slot has flattened in the vertical break on his breaking balls and changeup. His command and control has shown continued struggles severely with location, resulting in a spiked walk rate of 9.2 walk percentage and fewer than 1 strikeout per inning, 21.8% K percentage for the first time in his career. Peralta made his highly anticipated Rays debut on August 4th against the Rockies at Coors Field. The outing was a disaster. As we mentioned, he was shell-shocked for 7 earned runs on 9 hits and 2 home runs and wasn't able to escape the 4th. Peralta is far from a broken pitcher, but he's currently performing as a back-of-the-rotation starter rather than as an ace. If the Rays pitching lab can successfully adjust his arm slot back to his 2025 baseline to regain his elite vertical approach angle, he has mid-rotation upside for a pennant push. Now, let's get to know Game 2 starter, right-handed pitcher Nick Martinez. He's having a strong season. He's made 22 starts, pitching to an 11-3 win-loss record with a 2.65 ERA, 129 innings pitched, 20 walks, 73 strikeouts, and a 1.0 whip. In his last start at Colorado, he went 5 2/3 innings, allowed 6 hits, no runs, no walks, 4 Ks. Martinez, he's pitching like an American League ace for the Rays during this season, leaning heavily on elite command, a dense pitch mix, and stellar contact management over raw velocity. The 36-year-old journeyman is enjoying a career breakout year, securing an AL All-Star selection. His profile presents a fascinating case of an unconventional, highly effective finesse pitcher who relies on inducing soft contact rather than racking up high strikeout numbers. Martinez relies on a versatile 5 to 6 pitch mix to keep hitters completely off balance, consistently generating ground balls to work out of high traffic situations. His sinker is his primary offering. It sits steadily in the low 90s, but relies on pinpoint placement on the edges of the zone to induce grounders, including timely double plays. His changeup is his main secondary weapon. It features massive downward depth, dropping aggressively out of the strike zone to leave hitters out in front. His cutter is used frequently to tunnel effectively off his sinker, breaking away from righties and tying up lefties. His four-seam fastball blends into his sequences to change eye levels, occasionally maxing out higher than 93, but generally serving as a positioning pitch. His curveball is a slower average breaking ball utilized to disrupt a hitter's timing. Some of Martinez's strength focus on his elite precision and command. Martinez excels at attacking the strike zone without giving away free passes. In his August 5th victory against the Rockies, he spun 5 2/3 scoreless innings without allowing a single walk. He has surrendered just 20 walks over 129 innings all season. He has been strong at suppressing hard contact, hitters struggle to barrel his pitches consistently. He maintains a very low hard hit rate by constantly altering speeds and sequencing creatively. His high-stress resilience, he excels with runners on base. His ability to step up with sequence aggression allows him to navigate out of jams without giving up big frames. Some of his weaknesses and regression risks focus on his lack of whiff, swing, and miss ability. Martinez is not a punch-out pitcher, registering only 73 strikeouts in 129 innings. Because he pitches to contact, he relies heavily on his defense, making plays behind him. Statistical red flags, analytical models flag his low 2.65 ERA as a potential sell-high indicator due to an unsustainable strand rate, left-on-base percentage, and a lower-than-average BABIP. He's also vulnerable to the gopher ball. When his precision falters and pitches bleed over the heart of the plate, he can be punished. This was evident on July 31st against the White Sox, where he surrendered 4 home runs in a single outing. And as for Game 3 starter, I do think this will be the toughest challenge for the A's hitters to kick off the week. They will be going up against right-handed pitcher Drew Rasmussen. On the year, he's made 22 starts, pitching an 11-5 record with a 2.75 ERA and 124 in the third innings pitched. He's walked 22 batters, 130 strikeouts, and a .91 whip. In his last start, he got the win at Seattle against the Mariners. He went 7 innings, allowed 2 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 8 Ks. Rasmussen is putting together an American League Cy Young caliber season as the frontline ace for the Rays. Fully healthy and executing at the peak of his powers, he is currently riding a 27-inning scoreless streak over his past 4 starts. Rasmussen features a diverse 5 to 6 pitch mix, heavily tailored towards suppressing hard contact and maintaining surgical command. His velocity ranges from 81.8 to 97.3 miles an hour, depending on the offering. He works with a 4-seam fastball. While he can ramp up his high heater up to 97.3, to escape jams, he focuses heavily on sequencing. His sinker generates massive horizontal movement and has been lethal against left-handed hitters, yielding a microscopic 126 WOBA in 2026. His cutter is his primary weapon for generating soft contact and keeping hitters from squaring up the baseball. His sweeper curveball is his primary breaking ball variance, utilized out of the zone to generate empty swings. His new changeup is his biggest evolutionary leap throughout this season. Previously a fastball slider dominant pitcher, Rasmussen has integrated a changeup into his regular rotation for the first time. It has given left-handed batters a secondary look to defend against and has kept both sides of the plate guessing. Some of his strengths focus on his elite command and pitch design. Rasmussen ranks in the absolute upper echelon of the league for execution, boasting a 109 location plus, which is good for 5th in all of baseball. He fills up the strike zone effortlessly and rarely beats himself, resulting in an elite 2.22 walk per 9 rate and a top 10 22.1% K to walk percentage. He's been strong at suppressing hard barrel contact. He relies heavily on late movement to stay away from the barrels of bats. His defense loves playing behind him because he forces a high volume of soft contact and rapid low-pitch innings. On July 26th against Cleveland, he tossed 7 scoreless frames on just 87 pitches, followed by another 7 scoreless innings in his last start on 91 pitches against Seattle. Historically hampered by major elbow injuries earlier in his career, Rasmussen has entirely rewritten his durability narrative. By altering his arm angle slightly and shifting away from a hyper-max effort fastball approach toward a complete mix, his current durability profile is robust. He has sustained his workload beautifully into the dog days of August without drop-offs in his underlying stuff plus metrics. So that's a little bit about these Rays starting pitchers the A's hitters are going to have to go up against. Let's see how these A's hitters have fared in previous meetings against these 3 starters. So previously against Freddie Peralta, Jonah Heim is 2 for 4 lifetime. Alika Williams 2 for 4. Tyler Soderstrom 2 for 6. Max Muncy 1 for 4 with a walk. Jeff McNeil 1 for 10 with a double. Carlos Cortez 1 for 3. And Jacob Wilson 1 for 2. Against Nick Martinez, this group has not had success collectively in past meetings. 0 for 17 with 3 walks. And then against Drew Rasmussen, Jonah Heim is 2 for 4 with a home run. Lawrence Butler 2 for 4 with a home run. Donovan Walton 1 for 2 with a double. Jacob Wilson 1 for 2. And Jeff McNeil 1 for 2. Now, here are some Rays players for you to keep an eye on as you watch the A's take on Tampa Bay to kick off the week. Of course, the Rays offense is led by third baseman Junior Caminero, having another strong season. He's hitting .278 with 33 home runs, 71 RBIs, and a .916 OPS. Designated hitter is another player to keep an eye on, Yandy Diaz. He's hitting .298 with 15 home runs, 65 RBIs, and an .821 OPS. And the third Rays player to watch is first baseman Jonathan Aranda. He's hitting .286 on the year with 15 home runs, 72 RBIs, and an .808 OPS. Before we get on out of here, it is A's Day prediction time. We are going to select our A's player that we feel is going to homer in this series. Upon reflection, we are going to select left fielder Tyler Soderstrom to homer at least once in this 3-game set. We really do feel like Sody is turning on the power stroke once again. It does seem like he is one of the calming presence in the middle of this order. I think he's going to continue to have opportunities. Despite the fact that they'll be going up against some tough pitching to kick off this week, I do think Soderstrom will get into at least one. Looking forward to seeing him join the 20-homer threshold once again. And as for our series prediction, we do feel that this could end up being a tight pitching and defense type series once again. But the Rays are humming. The A's are coming out of the slumber slowly, and we don't know for the long term. Still think the A's got some things to work on, need to get whole, and I just think these two teams are in different stratospheres at the time of recording. So we're going to select the Rays to take 2 out of 3 in the series. We do think the A's are going to win tonight 7-3. We do think that they are going to have some success against Freddie Peralta, but then think that they will have their struggles against Nick Martinez and Drew Rasmussen over the weekend. So we do feel that the Rays will bounce back to take the final 2 of this 3-game set, 5-1 and 6-2, to secure the series victory. Hopefully we're wrong, and we're treated to some more A's victories, and perhaps that they can rattle off. They're coming into tonight's action on a 2-game winning streak, and hopefully they could start a series winning streak by the time Wednesday is said and done. Hopefully enjoy a new week of A's baseball. They got another good opponent to go up against. Once again, first pitch tonight, 6:40 p.m. Pacific time. Freddie Peralta getting the ball for the Rays. He'll be going up against Jacob Lopez. He'll be looked to keep his good pitching confidence and his good pitching on a roll since his recall from AAA. Should be a good matchup. Tune in. First pitch again, 6:40 p.m. from Sutter Health Park. Hopefully enjoy a new week of A's baseball. And with that brings us to the close of another edition of A's Day. Appreciate you stopping by to hear our thoughts on A's baseball to kick off your week. We'll be back behind the mic for Friday's show as we will recap what goes down in this 3-game series against the Rays. We'll discuss any other A's news that comes across our desk, as well as previewing their next opponent, a familiar one indeed, as the A's will stay home at Sutter Health Park in West Sacramento and welcome in the Texas Rangers for a 3-game set. We'll be sure to preview and give our predictions for that ALS showdown. That's all I have for you today. Appreciate you all stopping by and your continued support of A's Day. Once again, I'm your host, Joe Grotto. I hope you all have a great week. Enjoy all the A's baseball. We certainly will do so ourselves. Until next time, we'll see you on Friday's show. Holy Toledo. Let's go A's.